Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Shelby Stine. I am the Assistant Director of Employer Relations at the CMU Career Development Center. I am coming to you from the comfort of my own home, and I'm really excited to have a chance to talk to you. I am joined virtually by my colleague, Kevin, and we just want to take some time today to chat with all of you about the COVID-19 crisis, some of the things we're seeing, and of course, some of the services that we have to students and alumni. So we're going to talk about some of the questions we've gotten so far, but we encourage all of you to drop any questions that you have in the comments. My other colleague, Erica O'Toole, she's one of our career coaches. She's actually going to be in there monitoring that for us and answering questions as they come through. And we'll be getting those as well. But Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kevin Schwemmin. I'm the Associate Director for Career Development, and I mostly work with university-wide initiatives to incorporate career development into coursework and classroom experiences. But yeah, I think what Shelby said in terms of talking about COVID and how that's really kind of affecting the job market and things that students and alumni can be doing right now, even if they're not actively looking or if they're thinking their search needs to go on hold. So Shelby, why don't you kick us off and start talking a little bit about what's going on with employers?
Right. So, in the employer relations space, so that's what I do every day. I'm really just trying to get a pulse on how our employer partners are doing, how they're feeling, how they're navigating this. I think a good place to start would probably be to talk about what we're doing and how we're, learning the information that we're learning. So what are we doing? We're surveying our employers. So those are employers that have come to campus for career fairs. We know are interviewing our students, have hired our students for say summer internships in full-time positions, and we're trying to get a pulse. For those internship positions, are they still happening? Are they moving virtually? Are they being postponed? And the reality is that everything's pretty fluid right now. But we do know that we have had some students who have had their internships canceled for the summer. We also know that we've had a lot of students get notifications that they're moving virtually. And so I want to talk about that a little bit later, kind of what are some best practices, things that we can be doing to make sure we're productive in a virtual interview. But we're also getting creative, right? So we're all working from home. Our employers are doing their work virtually. So we're doing what we can to connect students and employers. We actually have partnered with other public institutions in the state to bring our students and our school districts a virtual teacher fair. So that's coming up on May 11th. But really, uh, it's just knowing that everything is fluid right now and that it is really, really stressful. And we understand that both for our students who have internships, May graduates who are looking, maybe don't have an opportunity yet and are thinking, where are we gonna, go from here?
Definitely, I think fluid and flexible is the name of the game these days. And I think a lot of students are wondering as they get ready to graduate, what do I do? This is um, it's an odd environment to be graduating into, and the job market is not as active as normal right now. So what can students be doing? And I think that um, in a lot of ways, this is an opportunity for students to really polish everything, polish your resume, make sure that you have dotted all your I's, crossed all your T's, everything is looking great, and it's the perfect resume that you want to present to employers. It's also the opportunity to polish some of those other skills, work on your interviewing skills, and practice interviewing in a virtual environment. I don't think that the virtualness is going to go away anytime soon. I think that even as economies start to open back up, we're going to see a lot of virtual interactions just because travel is going to be tough. Different states are going to have different policies for how they re-engage in the employment sector. So I think that virtual is here to stay for a while. And if you've never done it before, practicing for a virtual interview is a little different. I think that in a lot of ways, prepping for that virtual interview is very similar to what you would do for a regular interview. The content isn't really going to change. Employers are going to ask you the same kinds of questions that they would ask you in a face-to-face interview, just face to face, computer screen to computer screen. So practicing that very important kickoff question of tell me about yourself, and making sure that you're able to answer that question succinctly and um, be able to really kick off that interview on a positive note is key. That doesn't change. What does change is making sure that you're doing your your virtual interview in an environment that is conducive to that. So something that's free from distractions. If you're at home with your family and there's a lot of buzz and activity going on around your house, making sure that you find a room that's quiet, or asking folks to, hey, I've got an interview coming up. Can we maybe keep it down a little bit for me? um, Setting up the room lighting wise to make sure that you're not sitting in front of a window that's going to put your face in a shadow, or that there's a whole lot of activity busyness going on the wall behind you. Making sure that um, you're in a comfortable chair that's not super squeaky or noisy, all those kinds of things that people are going to pick up on. But for the most part, it's very similar to a regular interview. If you're really worried about it, or if you really just want to practice, now is the time to sign up for a mock interview through the Career Development Center. We are doing all of our um, interactions with students virtually these days. All of the mock interviews are still happening. It's still a great chance for you to practice your interviews, and we're doing those over Microsoft Teams, so you can get that experience doing it in a virtual environment. Um, we also have another platform. It's called Quincia. It's a virtual interview practice site that uses artificial intelligence to moderate questions, and then actually gives you feedback based on the quality of your tone and your answers and your body language, all of those kinds of things. It'll give you that feedback as well. That's another free service that we offer. So now is the time to practice and polish.
Yeah, and you talk about how you don't see virtual interviews going anywhere. And I think what's interesting is even in the last year or two, we've seen that employers have moved that way. So oftentimes, that first round interview, that first interview you're having for that job, is phone or often virtually, and it is different enough to maybe throw you off a little bit, but practice makes perfect. And I think that's what's been great is we as an office are adapting. We understand that, students and alumni need to practice these skills. And the fact that, Kevin and I, you could sign up for a mock interview and easily see Kevin or I on the other side of the computer. With that said, though, Kevin, so we talked about mock interview. That's one of the services that we offer virtually. Can you talk a little bit about how a student would schedule a mock interview, and maybe some of the other services that we're offering virtually?
Yeah, so all of our appointments with our staff are scheduled through Handshake. So current students, you automatically have an account in Handshake. Alumni, you probably still have an account in Handshake, depending on how long ago you graduated. That is a service that continues to be available to alumni for life. Um, Alumni who graduated more than 5 or 6 years ago, if your global ID has expired, you would need to have that reactivated by contacting IT. But otherwise, um, logging into Handshake is using your CMU credentials. And I think Erica's going to put the link to Handshake into the Facebook chat for us, so y'all can get that. It's also on the career development website, careers.cmh.edu. Once you get into Handshake, you're going to go to career centers, and you'll click on appointments, and that'll walk you through a process of choosing the type of appointment that you can schedule. So mock interview is one of the appointment types. We also just do consultations if you are worried about your job search, or if you are not sure about a major or not sure about a career direction. Those are all conversations that we can have virtually. Those are conversations that we typically would have in the office. Normally, when we are on campus and things are operating at a typical level, we have our first impressions career closet where students can come and get free professional career clothing. Those appointments are also scheduled in Handshake. Other resource wise, we have lots of great tools that you can use. We have a video library called Candid Career that has interviews from professionals from a variety of of different fields. It has also other tips on interviewing and tips on resumes, things like that. We have our career guide, which is an online tool that we have with lots of information about career searching, resumes, interview tips, all sorts of great content. Another cool website that we have a subscription to is called What Can I Do with This Major? So if you are thinking, I really, really, really want to major in English, but I'm not sure what I can do with that, and I want to be able to prove to my parents that an English degree is valuable. You go to the website and you put in English, and it'll give you a whole lot of different career options related to your major that you can pursue. And that one you do have to actually link from the career development website because the subscription is based on that link. Um,
So I want to, Kevin, if it's okay with you, I'm going to pop into some of the comments and questions that are coming through. So Robin Berry, hi Robin. She mentions that some of our faculty and internship directors in our marketing and hospitality industry or departments are hearing from employers that there are opportunities. And that's one thing I really want to make clear to folks, right? This is a time of uncertainty. We know that 22 million people or more than that now have filed for unemployment. So of course that's a bit unnerving and can make us a bit anxious about job prospects, but they're there. And the one thing I want to make students aware of is that those opportunities are there. So do what you can to, again, make sure that resume is perfect. Make sure you're networking with those employers that are posting positions to Handshake, because that is where they're going. So when you log into Handshake to schedule that appointment with one of our staff members, you also have the opportunity to look at those internships and jobs that are still available. Um, you know, it's easy to get discouraged right now, but I advise that if there are companies you're interested in, start researching them. Spend this time, right? We have the time. Students, your classes have all gone online, but hopefully you're, managing your time well. You're sort of setting a schedule for yourself, just like you would if you were on campus. But if you can, cut out a bit of time and do that research, look for those opportunities and network. Go on LinkedIn. And Kevin, I think this is probably a good segue to talk about some online branding. But go on LinkedIn, connect with those recruiters, ask good questions and make connections. Kevin, do you want to talk about, maybe some pointers for building our virtual brand? Because this is a perfect time to do it, right?
yeah, I think that there's kind of there are a couple of different levels of your personal brand. There's your personal brand. That's what you put out there on the internet and through all of your interactions with folks. There is your digital shadow, which is what other folks see about you. So it's important that you know what's out on the web that is reflective of you. So now is your chance to start building that through your online engagement. So building your LinkedIn profile. If you haven't done that yet, now's the time to do it. Building your Handshake profile. There's value to having a fully developed Handshake profile because that um, is visible to employers, and employers actually have the ability to search profiles based on information that they're looking for and then can contact you directly. Um, and Handshake also uses its own internal algorithms based on the information that you put on your profile and starts to feed you jobs that they think are going to be of interest. So the more information that you provide, the better that those search terms will be. Um, Networking wise, LinkedIn is has become kind of the behemoth, the go-to place for virtual networking, and it's a great place to start. So again, build out that network or that profile, and then start using some of the search tools within LinkedIn. And for current students, now is the time to start casting the wide net in terms of who do you put into your network. Start gathering in everybody. So your parents, your family, your friends, your instructors, your former supervisors, folks that you think are going to have a broader network for you to tap into. It's not just the people who are in the field that you're going into. It's the people who might have connections to the people who are in your field, and they'll be able to make introductions for you. And then the other tool to use is the alumni search tool. So if you go on to LinkedIn and search for CMU, there's actually a tool for searching for alumni that you can then put in different criteria. So majors or graduation years, geographic locations, employers, and I think there are a couple of other fields that you can search by that you can then reach out to CMU alumni and start asking them questions. Now is not the time to say, "Hi, I'm looking for a job. What do you have for me?" Now is the time to start asking questions about what's it like to work in this field. As a CMU alum with the same degree as me, how did you use that degree in your career? And just start building relationships with folks so that when it comes time to jobs getting posted again, you're there in the back of their mind and as a potential person to reach out to you. Or when you see something, you've already got a relationship to them with them. So it's not as weird or awkward to reach out to them and say, "Hi, I saw this posting at your company and I'd really like to apply. Do you have some pointers or some tips for me?" Um, but again, yeah, networking in a lot of ways has moved virtually over the last few years. Now is the time to take advantage of some free time to really do that.
Yeah, I think it's important too to think as far as LinkedIn and networking in general, right? We're playing the long game. So for a lot of graduates coming up in May and even maybe December, um, you could very well not find something in specific to what you studied or your dream job, and that's just the reality of the situation we're in, right? I think while we are optimistic, there also has to be a sense of realism there. But with that said, make those connections. Especially, I love, Kevin, that you talked about the CMU alumni tool and connecting with alumni, because who better knows, what you went through, what you studied, and the value of a CMU degree than our alumni. So that's super, super powerful. And the other thing I want to mention from an employer side, so we're doing our best to communicate with employers and learn what they're doing to meet their hiring needs, but a lot of them are doing a lot of really awesome virtual things. And I'm on LinkedIn every day, and I'm trying to kind of keep tabs on that, but they're doing info sessions and chat with the recruiter. So while yes, you should be looking for specific connections, but look for organizations, see what they're doing on their company pages, join groups in industry specific things that you're interested in. I feel like that could really pay off in the long run. And then one more point on the building your brand, that's something we can help you with. So there may be people listening to this saying, I don't have a resume. I don't have a LinkedIn profile. I don't know where to start. And that's okay. And that's why we're here. That's all stuff we can work through virtually, because as you have that perfect resume, or, nearly perfect, right? We're constantly updating it. Our LinkedIn profiles and our Handshake profiles should follow. But sometimes it's hard and we don't know where to start. And that's where, our team comes in, because we have knowledge experts that can help with that.
Also, we have a great question from Michelle, who is asking about making a career switch from nursing into the HR field,
Mhm.
and looking for some guidance on that. And without diving a little too deep into the nitty gritty details of Michelle's specific situation, um, and Michelle, I think that this is a great opportunity after this, after we wrap up today, that you definitely might want to consider jumping on a Handshake and scheduling an appointment to talk more specifically about your situation. Um, but in general, in terms of making that career switch, a lot of it comes down to how can you look at your past experience, the work that you have done, and look at your intended role or your goal career field, and start thinking about the ways that those two areas overlap. So in this instance, how does HR overlap with nursing, or the experiences that you've had within nursing? Um, and start to think about the skills and the competencies that are required within HR. Start studying job descriptions and job postings from the HR field, and think about, okay, I've done some of those things. How can I make sure that I'm highlighting that in my application materials, so they don't just see, okay, I was a nurse, I was in nursing, and I have no direct specific experience within HR, but I have done a lot of training. I've trained all of our new staff members. Those are the kinds of things you want to make sure that you're highlighting within your application materials. You might want to consider switching to a functional format of your resume rather than a chronological format. That way you can highlight your skills based on the competency areas that they're looking at, rather than looking at just the job positions that you've had. Um, I think that Michelle, I would really recommend you schedule an appointment with one of our staff, and we can talk through that process a little bit more specifically with you. But in general, it's really looking at those skills that overlap, and how can you make that transition.
Well, and kind of going off that, Kevin, too, things are tough for everybody right now. So I don't know if going back to school would be in the cards for you, Michelle, or for a lot of
Mhm.
folks right now, but it may be worth, looking at some programs. I know CMU has wonderful certificates. We have, uh, bachelor's and master's degrees that could maybe help you if this really is what you want to do. So, in addition to talking with us, certainly, and seeing how your experience that you have right now fits, that might be something to consider, some kind of certification or furthering your education in that space.
So I want to talk a little bit more about current students, and even younger current students or about to be students. There might be some potential, or um, students who are enrolling this coming fall as new students. What should you be doing if you're not getting ready to go off into the internship search, or getting ready to graduate and start the job search? There's a lot that you should be doing now. And this is, again, the earlier start with these things, the easier it becomes at the end when it's time to actually start applying. So you want to get involved on campus. Start thinking about different ways you can get involved on campus, because employers are looking at your engagement outside of the classroom. That does play a role, and in terms of depth and breadth of your involvement. So, and it's not just, okay, I'm going into marketing, I want to join the marketing association. That's not the only thing that you can do that's related. It doesn't have to be even related at all. Maybe there's an underwater basket weaving club that you really want to join, and that's really important to you. It's your ability to take that involvement and translate your activities um, into the tools that are related to the jobs you're applying to. So start now. Um, if you're not sure what you want to do, you came to CMU thinking you really wanted to major in elementary education. You got into your intro education classes and started doing some work with kids in the classroom, and you're like, ooh, maybe that's not the right choice for me. What do I do now? Um, Again, schedule an appointment with one of our staff and we can help you with that. We have a great tool called a Way To. It's a self-assessment that you can take on the website, on the Career Development website, that'll give you some thoughts and some things to start researching that you can then go and use the What Can I Do with This Major tool. On the admissions website, the program list A to Z, each program page has a widget built in that has career information that is being fed real time with job posting data, average salaries, things like that, for jobs that are related to those majors. And if you kind of dig around and play with that a little bit, you can get a whole lot more information about skills that they're looking for in those jobs. And then, okay, those are the skills they're looking for. I've got 2 years to get ready. What can I be doing now that will prepare me to apply for jobs in that field, so that when I am ready to graduate, I've got a really good quality experience that provides um, those skills that those employers are looking for, rather than trying to rush at the end and cram in some experiences that it's going to show. And you're not going to be able to talk about it. Maybe you can list it on a resume as a line, but you're not going to be able to talk about it in depth during an interview.
Yeah, you talk about, those things that employers are looking for. And I think this is a good segue into one of the talking points that I had, which is, what do they want right now? And I think, in the conversations that I'm having with my employer partners, surveys we're seeing, webinars we're all participating in, now is the time to really show the things that we're all dealing with every day, which is that we're adapting, we're flexible, we're creative, we're problem solvers, and that's what we know CMU Chippewas are. Um, what I think is awesome is that we can help you articulate that. So, Kevin, you'd probably agree with me. A question that I get asked a lot is, well, I've only had customer service type of roles, right? So I've worked in the fast food industry, or I worked at the local grocery store, and I don't know how to articulate that. But now is the time to demonstrate those skills, and you've had them. That customer service experience, and again, being adaptable and flexible. So that's where we can help too, because it's hard to kind of explain that and showcase that. But we have a few resources, including our career guide, which is on our website, that can walk you through how to craft those bullet points on our resume, how we can showcase those skills that I just talked about. Um, and of course, that's something that our career coaches can work you through too. But at a time when we're all adapting to this sort of weird reality that we're in, it's really important that you showcase that, right? And either and even if you don't have the work experience, through projects and classwork, I'm sure that you have. So that's something that we can help you with too.
Yeah, I think that again, it comes down to how can you best market the experience that you have. And it's not, I had to have I had to have work experience in marketing or in hospitality or in customer service. That didn't have to be my job title. You have to be able to say, okay, I did this work as a grocery store stock clerk. My job was to stock the shelves and answer questions from customers. But how can you demonstrate the value to an employer? And a lot of it comes down to your basic work skills, because that is, no matter what field you're going into, your ability to be a good employee translates across positions. So your ability to take initiative. So if you were trained to step in and be a backup cashier when times got busy in the store, make sure you're highlighting that you have that ability to be flexible and take on additional responsibilities beyond your position. Um, Being able to quantify the work that you do, so it's not just that I stocked shelves, that you managed the stock in 4 aisles, because we all know what a grocery store looks like. We all know what a grocery store aisle looks like, so we can envision that level of work, knowing, okay, the student was stocking 4 aisles versus 1 aisle. So it just gives a better mental picture to the person reviewing your resume that says, okay, I can see how much they can handle.
One thing that I also wanted to talk about while I have an audience is that, I've been getting, and so have my colleagues, I'm sure you have Kevin too, emails from students who have had canceled summer internships. That opportunity that they thought would, really build their resume, it's not happening anymore. We have heard, although it's not super common, we have heard that full-time offers have been rescinded. Um, One thing that I think is so important right now, if you have questions, if you haven't heard on a status, reach out to your recruiter. So that recruiter you met at a career fair, um, you know, whoever interviewed you, if you have not heard or gotten a status update, reach out to them. Understand that just as you are adapting and trying to figure this out, this new normal, they are too. Their companies are working through policies and procedures and trying to figure out a way to get students there. So, students that had your opportunities rescinded, I can only speak to the employers that I've worked with, but that was a really, really hard decision for them. There was a lot of thought that went into that. And certainly we're here to support you in any way that we can. So if it's been canceled, reach out to us. We can chat about how we can, continue to look and see what's out there. But students, again, if you have not heard or you have a job offer on the table, I encourage you to follow up, and check-ins are good. Recruiters have no issue hearing from you, but understand that, responses may be delayed. I just know I've had students ask, well, can I reach out to them? I don't know. And you certainly can and should do that to make sure that you're in the know. We have a question from Michelle again about creating a website. And so I think that's great. And it sort of goes with what we were talking about earlier, Kevin, about our personal brand and building our online sort of presence. Do you have any comments or would you like to touch on that?
I think that if you're not really into it, and it's not, I think that if you're going to build a website, you should build a website, and because you want to. I think folks in the creative fields, absolutely, you probably need to have a website to be able to showcase your work. and to be able to have a portfolio in a way that's easily accessible. In general, I don't know that the website itself is going to help you. I think you're probably better having a really high quality LinkedIn profile and then having a high quality digital presence in terms of not just having a LinkedIn profile, but actively posting and commenting and engaging with employers and other folks on LinkedIn. Uh, Twitter is also a great place to be. There's a lot of great interaction going on Twitter. I am not exactly I'm not a prolific tweeter. I'm a Twitter lurker. I follow a lot of folks on Twitter, and it just provides a lot of great information. But that's another place to engage, and it's a place that employers are looking. So if there are ways that you can be tweeting in relation to your field, that's a great thing to be doing. LinkedIn has a blog tool, so you don't have to build your own blog anymore. You can actually, if you want to do a more professional blog, um, you can just focus on using the LinkedIn tool and be posting there. I think that would be great. Um, I don't know that a website is going to be the most crucial thing to be doing right now. I think if you had to pick what to do, LinkedIn, resume, interview skills, those are probably where I would focus.
And more is not always better, right? I think sometimes the more we try to do, the harder it is to keep things up to date. I think a lot of us can speak to that. Even keeping a resume up to date is sometimes difficult. So there are certain industries where I certainly think that would be beneficial, especially in the creative space. If you're, looking to share some of the, interior design work you've done, or graphic design. But yeah, I think, and again, that's something that we can have a half-hour chat about. What would that look like? What are you looking to get into? And then, of course, does it make sense, and how to maneuver that?
So I think that as we're kind of winding down a bit here, I would really recommend, encourage folks, if there are some questions that didn't get answered, never fear. We'll be back in the Facebook chat and we'll go back and answer those questions the best we can, even if we weren't able to talk about them live. Um, I would really recommend taking advantage of some of our resources again, scheduling an appointment with a career coach through Handshake. That's a service that is for all current students and alumni. So just because you graduated 10 years ago doesn't mean that we've forgotten about you. We definitely want to talk to you. Um, we are planning to have a whole series of these chats, and we'll be bringing in some employer partners to talk about their experiences. We'll be bringing in some alumni. Um, Specifically, we plan to bring in some alumni who graduated into the 2008 recession and have them talk about how they were able to successfully navigate that process and build their careers. Um, so keep an eye out on the Career Development Facebook and Twitter feeds. We'll be posting there. So if you're not following us on Facebook and Twitter, you definitely want to follow the Career Development Center. Um, but yeah, I think, Shelby, is there anything you wanted to add before we sign off?
No, I mean, I think, the goal of us being here today to talk to you is to, let you know that we're here for you. I think that's why we all love CMU, is that, we are here to support each other. We understand that whether you are a student, who, had an internship rescinded, or you're waiting to hear, or maybe you aren't working at the grocery store to pay, this is a time that's difficult for a lot of folks. And we are biased, maybe a little bit, but we think that our office can really help you navigate this space. Again, we've talked about some specifics like the mock interview, and helping you with your personal brand. But if you just need to chat with someone about the hiring landscape, and again, unfortunately, I wish I knew more, right? We're seeing things come in every day. But we're here, we're a resource. We are virtual, so you can chat with one of our teammates. But we just want to remind you that we're all here for you, and we understand this is a really difficult time for a lot of people. But now's the time to make the most of the time that we have on our hands, and really kind of add tools to that professional toolkit. So we'll be ready to go.
All right, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.